So you know what you need to do, and you've known that for a while because you have the strategies, you have the processes, and still something pulls you back right when it starts to work. And no, not all the time, but consistently enough for you to not be where you should be by now. This is not a discipline problem. This is actually the reason why any course, strategy, or coach hasn't fixed it yet, because they're working on the wrong thing. And I know this because I was coached by a hypnotist who works exclusively with millionaires and billionaires. And what he showed me changed everything I thought I knew about why people get stuck in the first place. And ever since this, I used this work in my own practice with my own clients, and I had successes with traders and business owners, all the way from traders who have been failing for many, many years, coming all the way into consistency for 8 months in a row. Or a business owner who was stuck at 8K going all the way up to 30K just after a few months. So in this video, I'm just going to show you and walk you through how to find the blocks and remove them so that the next big leap in your business or in your life can be much more easy and effortless. So imagine the last time you had a momentum towards your goal. And then all of a sudden, things just started slowing down, either slowly or really, really fast. And it wasn't really something externally, it was something from you that made that self-sabotage happen, or something just stopped. Maybe you slowed down, maybe you got distracted, or maybe you decided that you needed more preparation before you take the next step. So the momentum started slowing down, or things started working, and then within weeks you started sabotaging this for yourself and you were all the way back at the start again. And now with much more pressure on yourself, much more tiredness because you've been through this before, and now you're back all the way back here again and you haven't made any progress. And this isn't random at all, because this pattern shows up consistently for you every time around the same time, when you get to the same kind of result, or you get to the same kind of place, or when you get to the same kind of revenue ceiling that you've hit so many times but you can't seem to get yourself past. So really, it's really close to when the goals usually get hit. That's when that internal break just sets in. And that's when the sabotage comes in. So most people spend years and years trying to discipline themselves or pushing themselves past this, and every time hitting the same wall. And this is what you probably experience right now, is that none of these work. You don't get more discipline. You don't get, like, maybe you now think that, oh yeah, I just don't have enough discipline because you haven't been able to push yourself through that ceiling or that wall. But really, this is not on a strategy plane. It's on a lower emotional plane, which is really our subconscious mind, who's trying to protect us from something that might be dangerous. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about limiting beliefs, and it's not really what you think it is. And once you understand it, you will start to really get why nothing ever has worked for you before, and why this is the thing that actually works. So a limiting belief isn't really a thought that you need to replace, and it's not something that itself ruins the goal. The reason why it ruins the goal that you're trying to achieve is because it's resisting one or more consequences of reaching the goal that you subconsciously think is dangerous. So basically, it's not about the goal itself, it's about what the goal means for you. It's what the goal will give you. Sometimes we think that we are scared of more failures, but in reality we're scared of the success, because success can mean less freedom, more responsibility, more hardy clients, or etc. And if your mind thinks that that is dangerous and I don't want to experience that, your mind will always sabotage for you before you reach the big goal that you're trying to reach. So your internal system is not a success system. It's just a survival system. And that is why most of the time it's not working with us, it's working against us. So as I said, the subconscious is not scared of what you want, it's afraid of what getting it would give you, right? So it's not scared of the first step, it's scared of the step after that. What happens when I get this goal? What happens when I reach this goal? What does that mean for me and my safety? And I was living this for many years, and I had one moment that was extremely interesting for me, that my subconscious just completely tried to save me. So I was in car sales, and I sold 53 cars in 1 month to single people, like not just one big order, but one person, 53 cars. And that was a record on the dealership that I was at. and it's a record that hadn't been reached for 60 years. And once I reached it, the same single day that I reached the goal, I mean, I should be happy, I should be celebrating, but instead I called my boss and I told him I wanted to quit. I had the best month, I hit all the records, and I wanted to quit. So it wasn't because I hated the job. I had been having a lot of fun when I was selling these cars and everyone was complimenting me, but it was something underneath that was panicking, because I thought that more sales meant more responsibility, but not even that. It was more sales meant more clients that could call me and complain about their cars. And the only thing that I wanted to do was to release the pressure that I had put on myself. And I knew that when I got back on Monday morning, there was going to be a lot of calls. And I just felt like the easiest thing, subconsciously, I wasn't even doing this consciously. I didn't just like, oh yeah, I've thought about this, I'm going to quit my job. No, it was in the moment. And I just felt, okay, I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm going to quit my job. And you can probably understand this, because this is the time where people will masturbate, eat candy, start a fight with their wives, because this internal pressure is so high that you need to release it. And this is the safety system, the survival system in action. So as I said, what about the beliefs, in this moment I thought subconsciously that this thing was gonna come. All of these clients was gonna come and complain. This wasn't even the reality yet, but I thought that, and that was what I was trying to be safe from. So that's why I called my boss and tried to quit. And after this, I continued building businesses, and I built a blog that actually became one of the biggest in my country in that genre. It was affiliate marketing. And the start of this business, I was working really hard on, and I was doing everything that I needed to do. And then once it got to success, which didn't feel safe, because this meant that I was going to be seen more in a category of the blog that I wasn't really safe with feeling visible in. And after I had a newspaper reaching out to me and I was interviewed in this newspaper, I just couldn't continue. And I found every single reason not to continue, because I wasn't feeling safe in this moment. So that's why I started self-sabotaging and I couldn't continue with the blog. So as you can see, it's the same thing that happens. It's different story, different context, and you know that it's just the same way it works all the time. So it was always something that success would make me experience that I didn't want to experience, or at least I thought that I was going to experience. So it was always something that success was going to make real, that I just didn't feel safe about actually experiencing, and that's why the self-sabotage came. So the subconscious always found the best logical excuse, like laziness, like procrastination, or trying to make my blog more perfect, so that I wouldn't get close to experiencing that negative reality. And it was just keeping me safe from the success, because if I went to that success, I would have this negative experience about being exposed, about being seen, or in this case, when I tried to quit my job, about actually meeting these clients who were complaining about their cars. So this is what I call a counter intention. You have a goal, but you have also a counter intention, a mental block. And this is when you, the guy who's steering the ship, wants to go forward, but the subconscious, the captain of the ship, says stop. And even if you want to go forward, the captain says stop. And that's what it does, in its own creative, fantastic way to keep you safe. So now let's find yours. And I want to be super clear about what we're going to do, because it's not about figuring out the most negative thought that you have. We're following the resistance backwards from where you feel it until we find what it's actually protecting. So now just keep in mind and imagine the goal that you want to hit, the one that you want to reach, but something just keeps stopping you from going there. And you can close your eyes and now go back to the last time that you sabotaged or stopped. When you had that momentum and something happened, what did you do? Not what happened, but what did you do? And you can pause this video now to think about that. So notice what you were feeling right before it started slowing down. Was it anxiety? Was it stress? Was it boredom? Was it excitement? Was it a low-level feeling about knowing that something was about to go wrong, even though nothing was actually wrong? So sit with that feeling just for a second and don't analyze it too much. Just feel it where it sits in your body and just sit with it for a moment. So that feeling, that sensation is the signal. It's your nervous system telling you that you're getting close to what it's trying to protect. So now when you know the goal, when you can feel this sensation, when you can feel this feeling, ask yourself, what is actually on the other side of the goal I'm trying to reach? And not what you hope will happen, but what you actually think will happen. So as in, who would know? What would you not be able to hide anymore? What would be expected of you? Who would you have to be in order to be able to even reach this goal? Or after you reach the goal, sustain the goal? What version of yourself would be needed for you to reach this goal? And do you feel like you are this version of yourself right now? So the answer that makes you slightly uncomfortable, the one that you maybe want to just pass by, that is usually the counterintention. There's also another reason, or there's also another way that you can do this in a very simple way. If you are very, very in touch with your body, then you can simply say the goal out loud. I will earn this amount by this time. And then you simply listen to the counterintention coming out. And that is also a signal. That is the subconscious or the body not being in line with your goal, that you don't actually believe the goal is possible. And if you don't have any so-called counterintentions, then you are most likely aligned with the goal. So after you found this, you probably found the thing that is running beneath every strategy, every course, and everything that you're trying to do. So sit with it and try to name it out loud if you can, and try to understand what it actually means for you, because once you understand what it means, then you can see the difference between just an external obstacle and this internal break that you're having and experiencing right now. So here's where a lot of people get stuck, because some people can find this internal resistance themselves just by journaling, meditating, or doing this kind of exercise. But then after a couple of weeks, they go back into the old patterns anyways. Insight obviously doesn't change the protection mechanism of your nervous system. And this is actually what working with this hypnotist really showed me also. The nervous system, or your subconscious, doesn't speak in ideas or thoughts, it speaks in feelings. The belief itself wasn't installed through thinking. It was installed through an experience combined with a powerful emotion. So to remove it, you have to reach the same kind of level. And you have to find the emotion and release the emotion before you can install the new one, which is basically, to be able to release the old belief, you have to release the emotion with it before you can install another one. Because if you believe that you are not worthy of making that amount of money, and then you say, okay, I'm going to install the new one, which is I am able to make the double amount of money, but you don't believe that because you haven't released the other belief. An example of this is if you don't believe that you are worthy of having a loving partner, for example, but then at the same time you say, okay, I'm going to install this new belief. I'm going to say I am worthy of a new partner. You can't just put that on top of the other one, because this one is grounded and anchored in emotion. First, you have to release this emotion before you can install this more powerful belief, because there's a reason why this one still sits here, because again, it's protecting you from something. So once you can release that, then you can install the new belief. And a lot of times, affirmations and all of that, it's just trying to put this makeup on the pig, because it doesn't work. You have to remove it first before you can install it. And this is what hypnosis really does. This is why I do and work with hypnosis, because it bypasses that critical mind, and then you can go down into the subconscious, release the emotion, install the new one, and that's when change can happen really, really fast. So what you really do is that you give it a new experience, one where the thing that it's trying to protect you from no longer carries the same emotional weight. So the belief doesn't get argued away, it gets replaced at the root. That's example why I was working with August, who had a lot of problem putting pressure on himself when he was creating content, and he knew that getting to the next level of income he had to take and create much more content, but he couldn't do it because every time he sat down he felt pressured to create. So what we did was we removed that pressure and we installed a new belief, which was I allow everything to be easy and effortless, and I don't have to put any pressure on myself when I create, because it will still be enough. And he thought the belief before was that if I don't push myself, if I don't have this pressure, it's never going to be successful. But he also knew consciously that if he was just more ease and relaxed, the content would be and land much more better. And lo and behold, once he removed this belief, then the content did flow better. But it's always this internal resistance that we need to remove first. So it doesn't matter if I work with a trader or business owner, the strategy doesn't have to change. It's just to remove that internal resistance so that the next big leap can be and feel much more easy and effortless. So here's what you know now that most people will never know, is that the limiting belief was never about you being disciplined enough, not being consistent enough, or not having the right kind of strategy. It was about one or more specific consequences that your nervous system didn't believe was safe to go and experience. That's the counter intention. And now, as you can see it, it means also that you can replace it. And if you want my direct help implementing this, finding, removing, installing new beliefs so that the next big leap in your business, in your trading, can be much more easy and effortless, and so that you don't become the limit of your business, then you can reach out, or you can go in the description, you can book a call with me, and we can see if we're a good fit and see if I can help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.